When things don't go well for Disney as of late, they tend to slime the fans before we ever get to the point where people can accurately critique what it is that they're being slimed about. Have questions? We've got answers. Think about Kenobi and the way that the audience was criticized, slammed, treated poorly, even before Kenobi ever came out. Same thing with The Little Mermaid. Same thing with anything that Disney thinks might not do well. And now, it's looking like the pieces are being put in place to do the same thing for the replacement of Splash Mountain, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, which is now, by some, being called Tiana's Rainforest Cafe Adventure. Disney may not be thinking this is going to do well, and it may not do well for a very long time. Even Bob Iger now is alleged to have went through it and said, uh-oh. Hello and happy day, folks. Welcome back to the WDW Pro channel. We have John F. Trent, the editor-in-chief of ThatParkPlace.com, back with us. He is also the host of the Trent Report, the brand new YouTube channel, which, folks, if you're not yet subscribed to, well, you should be. John, welcome back.
Glad to be here. How are you doing today?
John, we have a very spicy topic to deal with, and that is going to be that we have a rumor now from a very credible source, and folks, if you knew the source, it might shock you. And that rumor is that the Walt Disney Company is creating an in-house propaganda position to attack critics of the Disney park attractions like Tiana's Bayou Adventure. And this particularly has to do with the idea that WDI, Walt Disney Imagineering, is coming under tremendous fire. We've seen that now with the Epcot additions, which many feel are lackluster. And apparently they're very nervous about the Tiana situation with Splash Mountain. We're going to explain that in just a moment. But I do want to say that we have done our own due diligence here. I've looked into some things, and it does appear to me, although I cannot fully corroborate any of this, and that's why this video will go into rumor and speculation officially. I've done some digging, and some of the things that this individual has told us line up behind the scenes in terms of hiring and job positions and all of that. We're not going to start throwing names out there. We're not going to name too many names today. We don't want to malign somebody unintentionally, but this is looking very solid behind the scenes. John, let's get into this article that you've written right now. A new rumor claims that the Walt Disney Company is creating an in-house propaganda position in order to attack critics of the company's numerous attractions in their parks, such as Tiana's Bayou Adventure. The latest rumor comes from a confidential source close to that park place whose identity we are protecting. The source informed us that Walt Disney Imagineering is undergoing a reorganization. As part of this reorganization, the company is creating an in-house propaganda position whose purpose in part will be to counter the rising criticism towards what they know is increasingly poor creative. And when we say poor creative, we're talking about creative output. The source added this correlates with the lead up to promotion for Tiana's Bayou Adventure in 2024. Now, John, you've done a wonderful job of putting this mural up here because it epitomizes what we're talking about. This mural is going down for an attraction that's supposed to take place in the 1920s, 1930s New Orleans. And instead what we have is something that looks like it was ripped out of modern urban Philadelphia. And the reason for that is that Disney, in all of its infinite wisdom, reached out to a woman who has proclaimed in the past that she had a militant history and background. And she is the artist who has come forth and drawn all of this stuff that looks like it was ripped out of the real world, despite the fact that we're supposed to be entering into a cartoon world. John, I also think that some folks out there might be taken aback and say, surely not. This just can't be real that Disney is creating a propaganda position for Walt Disney Imagineering. That said, John, we've seen this time and time again with the studios where Disney would attack fans preemptively, talking about Riva, talking about The Little Mermaid, where they would attack fans preemptively. And then that created I guess they thought they were going to have a firestorm, so why not make it themselves? So, John, what did you make when you first heard this, when we first shared it amongst the different individuals associated with that park place?
Yeah, to me, this didn't surprise me at all. It just seemed like status quo at the Walt Disney Company. We, like you said, you mentioned what they did with Obi-Wan Kenobi. They went out on their public Star Wars Twitter account and basically called anyone who didn't like the show racist and clearly trying to do damage control ahead of the show's poor quality. There you go. You can see the tweets right there. There are more than 20 million sentient species in the Star Wars galaxy. Don't choose to be a racist. So if you had any kind of criticisms for the show or specifically...
Or a villain, John. John, this was a villain. Like, people, if you're the company, you want people to dislike the character she's playing. This was the most stupid thing you've ever seen. If you don't get out here and hug Darth Vader, you're a bad person. You're an ist.
Yep, and then they rolled out Obi-Wan Kenobi actor Ewan McGregor. He did kind of like a car video, which looked like complete and utter a PR job, trying to make him look normal, where he's just like sitting in his car recording a video, saying how he's seen some examples of like the most disgusting, heinous things. And
John,
then
is it okay to play that?
What's that?
Is it okay if we play that for the audience so they can hear what we're talking about?
Yeah,
all right, let's play it, folks. Here you go.
This weekend, Star Wars fans made Obi-Wan Kenobi the most watched Disney Plus original series premiere of all time. And for that, I would say a big thank you. And it just goes to show what this family can do when we all pull together.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on here, but it cut out for me too when I try to do that. So I don't know if you want to just cut it out. Like, it just silence. I think it's an X thing.
Poor X. They'll get it figured out. But John, what we found out later, of course, is that Obi-Wan Kenobi was not a successful show on Disney Plus. Folks might say, well, how do you know that, Pro? Well, there's no second season, and they wanted there to be a second season. Yeah, the Nielsen ratings didn't bear that out, so this didn't go well.
Massive decline. Yeah, massive decline from when it first came out. But anyways, Ewan McGregor goes on and basically says he'd seen all of these heinous messages that Moses Ingram was receiving. She then put out 4 of them, and only one of them was what you would consider maybe in that category. The other 3 were just like, yeah, this is a DEI character. We've seen this over and over again, and there's plenty of evidence that the Walt Disney Company is pushing that kind of thing. It's publicly available on their Reimagine Tomorrow website. So we've seen them do this stuff on a number of occasions. You can look at the Captain Marvel press tour with Brie Larson and how they were doing that. That was clearly, I think, something that they worked out with Brie Larson and Marvel Studios and the Walt Disney Company and the people that she was communicating with, the messages that she was talking about. That was
she didn't need a 40-year-old white man telling her what to think about her movie. I suppose the 40-year-old white man didn't return.
Yeah, not only that, she was also talking about how she wanted to basically remove critics from who were reviewing the Captain Marvel film, and then she had to backtrack on that, saying she wasn't really trying to remove critics; she was just trying to create more seats for the seats to the table, which doesn't really make any sense if you know kind of like how time works, and that you only have a certain amount of time to talk to a number of people. So
John, you've really screwed up as an actor or an actress when our response to you is, well, that's not how physics works.
Yeah, so that was like utterly ridiculous. And I think the biggest example is we actually have witness testimony from an actress who was in one of the best performing Lucasfilm shows, Gina Carano. She absolutely savaged the Walt Disney Company, and specifically Kathleen Kennedy, and how Kathleen Kennedy used these outlets like Hollywood Reporter, Variety, etc., and the people that work there to attack her family, getting YouTube personalities censored, removing the like button. All of those things was clearly, I think, part of machinations from within the Walt Disney Company. Again, you can look back at Captain Marvel and how Rotten Tomatoes completely changed how they did their reviews following that film. So there's lots of evidence that this is what the Walt Disney Company does, and so this didn't really surprise me whatsoever when I saw this. This is what the Walt Disney Company does indeed do. I think you've also had previous reports about how within the Walt Disney Company there's a lot of pressure from employees to basically stay silent and shut up.
Yes, well, if you've got a trip to human resources,
right?
Yeah, if you've got a trip to human resources, should you speak out or have any opinion that is not far left, welcome to monolithic thinking. But Disney usually does this, John, when they realize that they've got a stinker on their hands. In the case of the stinker that would cause them to create a position, potentially, where they're going to malign critics in a very public way, the stinker is Splash Mountain. And, of course, it's not just Splash Mountain anymore. It's Tiana's Bayou Adventure. I'm bringing up this tweet from Mickey Views, with Braden, of course, being behind that channel, and that YouTube channel, because he has allegedly picked up a major scoop, and I think this lines up perfectly with what we're hearing. And so there's a couple of parts to this scoop. Let me walk everybody through this. First of all, the reception to the exterior of Splash Mountain, now that it has been covered in fake plants, is exceedingly poor. He is calling it Tiana's Bayou Adventure goes Rainforest Cafe mode. I think it's perfect now to call it Tiana's Rainforest Cafe Adventure. I think that's the perfect way to call this. It looks stupid. It looks stupid next to Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. It looks stupid being part of Frontierland. And for the folks out there who say, it's just an attraction, what do you care about? It's just part of a little, this is for kids. Shut up. Anything that's made for kids, anything that's made for a theme park can still look beautiful or be cohesive. This isn't, and that means they didn't think through it.
Yeah, and you still want an immersive experience when you're going through the parks. There's a reason why those lands are themed, and they have the themes that they do, is because you want to give the people that are walking through the parks, that have bought the tickets, you want to give them an immersive experience. And when you have something that stands out like this, like a sore thumb, you lose that immersion.
Right. It looks like a tropical jungle next to a desert mountain. It makes no sense. And I think that, your average family is spending $800 to $1,200 per day. I think you could pull off some cohesion here. But the second part of this, of his scoop, is the most amazing thing. And that is, John, that according to Braden of Mickey Views, he is saying that Bob Iger has been now given a physical tour. He actually walked through the interior sets of Splash Mountain. I'm not sure if that's at Disneyland or Disney World. My suspicion is Disneyland. And that Bob Iger, after walking through and being shown, this is where this will be, this is where this will be, listening to music, all that Bob Iger's response was, this is really boring. And coming from your CEO, and the fact that it's too late really to change it, the problem here is that if Kenobi is bad, John, people don't watch Kenobi, and 6 weeks later, Disney moves on to something else. If The Little Mermaid is bad, well, that's a bigger deal, because now nobody's buying Little Mermaid toys for Christmas, and Hasbro's laying off vast amounts of employees and blaming it on Transformers and Magic the Gathering. Okay, that's a bigger deal. But you know what's even bigger? Is if your Splash Mountain, which, by the way, was the most popular attraction in the world and still is in Japan, if that gets changed to something that really stinks and nobody likes it, then it's going to be a stupid-looking eyesore for like 2 decades to remind people of how bad you failed. And I think that's why they're going to get out there and they're going to malign. Folks, I don't know this for sure, but I think they're going to get out there and they're going to malign people and say that you're a bad person if you don't like this. I think there'll be campaigns against it, bots, all of that. Don't know it for sure. And I think they already know from their CEO this is not going well. Your thoughts?
Yeah, this doesn't surprise me at all. Again, like I said, we've seen this. This is kind of status quo. Would not be surprised if they do this. They just hired a woman who President Joe Biden described as, like, I forget the specific words, but basically unflinchingly loyal. And they hired her to do basically PR crisis and things like that. She was part of his traveling press tour. So they're bringing in political apparatchiks to run their PR.
From only one side of the aisle.
Yeah, from only one side of the aisle. So again, this doesn't really surprise me at all. You kind of expect this. This is the Walt Disney Company MO now. I don't know if it really has as much power as it maybe previously did a couple years ago. I think Elon Musk buying X really changed the game on the narrative control, and I don't think that the Walt Disney Company really has that anymore. And I just think that there's too many voices now basically calling this stuff out, and then they can objectively see how terrible something is, that this stuff isn't going to work. Like you said, this is going to be there for years and years and years. We saw what happened with the Star Wars Galactic, whatever, the Star Cruiser thing. Yeah. They shut it down within less than a year. This could be something similar. Probably won't be shutting it down because they're just gonna have to deal with it. But I could see it pretty much going the same way. It's going to go the way of the Dodo, and probably people won't be lining up to ride that ride in the foreseeable future.
For park historians, the biggest black eye that Disney parks have ever had, I guess, is Journey into Imagination. And I think this could one-up it. I think this could easily one-up that and become the biggest faux pas, the biggest mistake that Disney has ever made in the parks. We shall see. This may be up there with the Disney's California Adventure 1.0.
Yeah, I think this is, again, this is what the Walt Disney Company does. We have an Imagineer, I forget his name right now off the top of my head, but he said that when they bought Lucasfilm, they were going to create Tatooine in the parks.
Yes.
They got a call from Kathleen Kennedy, shut it down, and decided to do whatever they've got there now. That sucks. So it's like, what are you doing? Again, these are the decisions that were being made while Bob Iger was in charge before. They're the same decisions that are being made now. So I'm not really seeing any kind of improvement or change. Even if Bob Iger didn't like it, well, it's like, dude, you're in charge. Did you not see the plans? Did they not pitch this to you? There's on that aspect, it's almost like they're trying to make Bob Iger out to be some savior. He thinks this sucks, or like maybe save him from the the bad PR, and it's like, nah, dude, man, you've been in charge, you've always been in charge, and these decisions are happening under your leadership, and you aren't really qualified to be the leader because you keep making the same mistake over and over and over again.
You know, folks out there, if you think that perhaps we're overdoing it here, I'll just say this: Splash Mountain had more than 60 animatronics. It was a tour de force of Disney Imagineering. This new version is going to have 16 animatronics. So you figure out what you think is happening there. I want to show folks too, and we're not here to be mean or overly critical of anybody. We're not here to, we don't want to malign anybody. But the lady who's over this transformation of Splash Mountain into Tiana's Rainforest Cafe Adventure, she doesn't have a track record of success. And so we need to look at this so that folks understand what's happening here. We're looking at Carmen Smith. We've brought her up several times on the channel. People ask, who is this woman you keep bringing up? And so Carmen Smith is the lady at Walt Disney Imagineering who basically is in charge of doing all of this stuff. So let me read from this. Today, she helps, and this is back from 2021, today she helps cultivate a culture of inclusion and its role as an integral part of the creative process at Walt Disney Imagineering. As part of Imagineering's long-standing history of enhancing attractions with new magic, she not only seeks to tell stories that are inspiring and enlightening, but ones that are relevant and make all guests feel welcomed. Among her responsibilities, Carmen, with the support of a team of highly respected cultural advisors from around the world, is involved in the development of 2 upcoming Disney park attractions: the reimagining of Splash Mountain to a theme inspired by an all-time favorite animated Disney film, The Princess and the Frog, and enhancements coming to Jungle Cruise that build on the beloved story of the iconic attractions. And you might say, well, perhaps the Jungle Cruise was a success. And I would say, no, it wasn't. Take a look at this. Out of WDWNT, just from this October, temple scene in ruins at Jungle Cruise as Magic Kingdom prevents facade from crumbling, but won't actually repair the damage. Well, what is this about? Well, they can't hardly keep the attraction open. It's still not been fixed. They're putting up plastic sheets because rather than spending the budget on fixing the Jungle Cruise ride and keeping it safe for guests, they went in and did all kinds of cultural stuff to fix it. They made sure that we weren't laughing at the monkeys on the boat, and they made sure that the rhino with his horn was attacking a diverse group with a white male at the bottom. All of that was more important than making sure that guest safety was at the top of the list. This is not somebody who I think should be taken seriously in terms of creative output. Another example.
Just to point out there, if you look at those mesh nets, those are actually supporting that structure. Those aren't part of the actual ride. They weren't part of the ride previously. They're supporting the structure.
Yes. Have fun getting on that ride. And by the way, where boats have been sinking as of late. What else should be involved in? Well, this from February 2021, experience the soul of jazz as an American adventure beginning at Epcot today. This was supposed to be a very long-term inclusion, right, of soul. And it was, you can see back here, this cartoon image, of course. And if we go to Disney News from WDW Info, the Soul of Jazz, an American Adventure exhibit has officially closed at Epcot. This from January of this year. And that's because what they did was they took all of these amazing pieces of art, which featured, we're talking about real pieces of heritage that belonged in museums, and this was treated as a museum. And she replaced that with images that looked like they were made by a high school history project. This is what she put up in place of fantastic works of art. And so, it had to close after just 2 years. Wasn't planned to be closed in 2 years. It's closed after 2 years. This is not a lady, John, who has a track record of any sort of success. And that's why when she's over Splash Mountain without a single victory that I can find, I think it gives you pause to wonder exactly how this is going to turn out. If the CEO, who is all about woke, the CEO who is all about inclusion, comes away and says it's boring, well, what's it going to mean for the rest of us? Because I don't think that Bob Iger has the same appreciation that we do for good attractions. So I think we're going to be utterly bored with this. Your thoughts, John?
Yeah, I don't think Bob Iger has very good taste. I'll say that. I mean, he was the one who basically told George Lucas to piss off.
He put Wish out there, didn't he, for the 100th anniversary movie? Greenlit under him.
Yep. Yep. So I mean, again, like I said earlier, this is the track record that the Walt Disney Company has now. It's failure after failure after failure, and a lot of it stems from Bob Iger and his implementation of these DEI policies, the people he has hired to enact those policies. And I just don't see the Walt Disney Company getting any better. I think Elon Musk said it best: the woke mind virus has infected the Walt Disney Company, and until that woke mind virus is eliminated, the Walt Disney Company is not going to get better anytime soon. It's just going to continue to get worse and worse.
That's right. And I'm here to say, too, that there are folks of every ethnicity, every background, belief system, etc., at the Walt Disney Company and Imagineering who are extraordinarily capable and good at what they do. It just so happens that Carmen Smith, I don't believe, is one of those people. She is probably a tremendously nice person. She's probably the kind of person you might want to have lunch with. But when it comes to building attractions, I'm sorry, but I can't get behind this. And it bothers
The
me
results
that
speak for itself.
that's right. It bothers me, John, that when we get to this point later in 2024 where Disney, or let's say anonymous accounts out there, or perhaps people on forums are attacking those who dislike the changes for Splash Mountain, I dislike it. That I think that might be coming from something greater than just random individuals saying, "Oh, you're a horrible person. Oh, what are you? What are you? Are you a bigot? Are you awful? Are you terrible? You don't like particular people?" All of that, I think, is coming from a different source than just random individuals. John, final thoughts, and where can we find you on this great, big, beautiful web?
Yeah, just to reiterate, this is the Walt Disney Company now. It's failure after failure after failure. It's not just in the parks; it's in the movie theaters. It's everything that they touch. It's just failing. You look at the Disney Plus stuff; their numbers are down on their Star Wars properties, on their Marvel properties, even though that they've increased North American subscribers. So even though they have more subscribers in North America, they're getting less views on their IP, like their supposedly star-studded IP. And I just, again, like I said, I don't think this stuff is going to change. They have really poor management there. They have poor leadership. And until you change the leadership and kind of clean out a lot of this bad stuff, get a really good leader in there who's not going to kind of be taken hostage by the woke mind virus, then the Walt Disney Company is not going to change. It's going to continue down this path. We just aren't seeing it with the current leadership in place right now. As far as where you can find me at thatparkplace.com, usually putting up 2 or 3 articles every single day. I'm also at the Trent Report here on YouTube, trying to put out maybe 2 or 3 videos every single day as well, and do some videos like this where I bring in a guest and we have some really good analysis. We've had Graham Nolan on. I've had OMB reviews on as well. And then I also have a racing channel. You search my name, John F. Trent, and you can find that. Really enjoying a lot of that stuff, covering all kinds of stock car racing here in the United States, from asphalt to dirt.
Absolutely. John, you've been someone who has genuinely pushed pop culture in the right direction. You've been a voice of truth for years and years. It's an honor to have you on the team. We continue to be amazed at your successes, and I am sure we are going to continue to see success out of you. Folks, if you're not yet subscribed or bookmarked the stuff that John is doing, you need to be. He is a major player in everything to do with pushing back against these corporations and their attempts to invert and subvert the morals and traditions that we have held that made society work. And we would like for society to continue working. If you're sane, you want the same. All right, folks, that's a wrap for today. We have covered some spicy topics. Of course, we've veered into rumor and speculation territory. Unfortunately, we can't produce some of the stuff that we know behind the scenes. We don't want to accidentally put anybody in a position where by being featured in the video, they take on undue heat. So that's why we're being careful there. Folks, if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and when you click it, you stick it to the algorithms, hit the notification bell, drop a comment down below, let us know your thoughts. And folks, also, if you've not yet seen the video where we audited this channel for the first quarter of 2023 to see how our rumors and scoops have turned out, you might want to watch it. 90% accuracy is what we had discovered by Lauren Connor and Culture Casino as they independently audited this channel and the rumors and scoops we reported just from January to March of this year. We're going to keep up with that track record, we hope, and we hope you'll be there as well as we explain entertainment and keep you ahead of the culture curve. Folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Clickbait, fraud, drama queen. Ugh. I wish there was a channel that was 5 to 6 minute news reads without the drama, frauds, and clickbait that could accurately let me know the current news, providing my crucial context utilizing all the different That Park Place contributors and creators.
Well, stupid.
Huh?
There is. It's the That Park Place YouTube channel, which will be going live real soon, so make sure you're subscribed, so you can really stick it to the algorithms.
You're joking.
Nope.